This is my ranking of every Mario Party 5 minigame. Just like always, only my opinion and no one else's. I'm speaking only for myself. And the usual difficulty and replayability. You know it, don't you? Got no more intro for you, so let's go! The worst Mario Party 5 minigame is a tie between Free-for-All's Lucky Lineup and Random Ride. In Lucky Lineup, each player has their own slot machine and must hit a block to make each slot stop on one of several pictures, hoping to make as many matching lines as possible. Doing so scores them points, and the player with the most points at the end wins. However, the slots spin so fast that it's impossible to time your hits, so again, you have to rely on luck. But Random Ride has much more to it. The players take turns choosing faulty flying vehicles, and must then race them across a track in the sky, and the player who either survives the longest or reaches the finish line wins. However, each flying machine has a name, and the ones with positive names have a better chance. Yes, just a better chance, it's not a guarantee, of staying aloft. But what completely kills this minigame for me is that the order in which players get to choose vehicles is totally random, hence the name Random Ride. So yet again, everything is up to chance. And plus, they're battle minigames, and that means, you know, I'm getting sick of saying the same thing over and over again. You should know what it means by now, but I'll gladly reiterate this. If you're both a luck-based and battle minigame at the same time, there's no hope for you. 75. Vicious Vending. The players use vending machines and hope to get coins out of them and not thwomps. And that's it. This one is totally luck-based, obviously, but that's not all. Its concept is in no way interesting, and on top of that, it's really short. If not for Lucky Lineup and Random Ride, this would surely be Mario Party 5's worst minigame. 74. Mathletes. Each side must hit 3 blocks to form a math equation, and the resulting number will determine how many coins they win. And that's it. Again, just like Vicious Vending, this one is luck-based, boring, pretty short, and has a blah concept. But I guess its concept is a little more interesting, which might make it a smidge better. Big whoop. 73. Get a rope. The players must choose, then pull a rope, hoping a weight won't fall on them. And that's it, yet again. This one's luck-based too, duh, and short, although not quite as boring, and I think with a slightly funnier concept, so it's a hair better, but I'm just splitting hairs here. Here's the deal, a luck-based game is a luck-based game, hear what I'm saying? 72. Fight cards. Each round, all players must hold up one of 3 cards. If any team players hold up the same card as the lone player, they're out, and if at least one team player is still standing after the 5th round, the team wins. But if not, the lone player wins. Another luck-based one! Oh my gosh! Fight cards does have a pretty cool concept, but not enough so for it to matter. 71. Scalding Cauldron. Each player must pick a cauldron to hide inside and hope Bowser won't breathe fire on it. Guess what I'm gonna say next? If you guessed, and that's it, followed by, once again, this is a luck-based one, you are correct. But unlike the other luck ones so far, I wouldn't call this one boring, nor would I call its concept uninteresting, but no matter what, luck is luck. I'm getting lucked up in the head here. 70. Handy Hoppers. Each team has their own bar and lever, and one player twists the lever to make the bar move, while the other keeps jumping over it. Doing so grants points, and the team with the most points when time expires wins. The controls for the lever twisting players are awkward. They have to alternate between the left and right trigger buttons, which is more tiring and less efficient than just, say, rotating the joystick. I'm sure the reason for this was to prevent another Mario Party 1 blister fiasco, but still, I don't like it. 69. Button mashers. Take a wild guess what this one entails. That's right, mutton bashing. I think. The players each hold several huge stone blocks and must keep them up by, well, you know. This concept isn't bad per se, but the problem is there will come a point where you have to keep mashing 6 buttons at once, which isn't inherently bad, normally, but on a GameCube controller, it feels really awkward. So much, in fact, your hands could cramp up. If a minigame causes you actual physical pain, you know it's bad. 68. Head Waiter, or more simplistically, a luck-based version of Hot Bomb from Mario Party 1 and 2. The players have to pass a Bowser bomb back and forth to each other, choosing to lower the counter by either 1 or 2, and the player holding it when said counter hits 0 loses. But where does the luck part come in, you may ask? Eventually, the counter goes away, so you have to try to guess what number your opponent picked, and therefore, which number the counter's on. I will say it's really suspenseful, but still, you can't go wrong with luck. No, wait. 67. Pound Peril. There are lots of switches, which the players must ground pound. All but one of the switches contain some sort of hazard, all of which will stun players who encounter them, with each having a different level of severity. But as for that last switch, the first player to hit it wins. This minigame is luck-based. Again. Since there's no way of knowing which switch is the right one, you just have to keep hitting switches until you find it. I will say the concept is kind of funny, since some of the hazards that can come out of the bad switches can be kind of fun to watch. But that ain't enough. 66. Nightlight Fright. Each player's in their own dark alley, and a chain chomp will approach them. If it reaches you, you, of course, lose, but the player who lets it come the closest before shining their flashlight on it wins. But the thing is, there's no way of knowing when your chain chomp will hit you, so you know what that means, right? No? Stop fucking lying! But yeah, real talk though, this minigame is lucked up. The concept is pretty cool, not gonna lie, but not enough so to excuse the luck part. 65. Wind wavers. The players are each on their own cloud, and by mashing, must keep waving their huge fans to distance themselves from a huge twister. The first player to reach it loses. Just like in handy hoppers, you have to alternate between the left and right trigger buttons, which again can get pretty tiring. And also, this one's quite short. Not boring necessarily, and the concept is kinda cool, but overall, this minigame for me is just eh. 64. Bus buffer. Each team has their own bus, you buffer believe it, which they have to mop the grime off of. The first team to do so, or if neither does, the one to come the closest wins. As I'm sure you can tell, this one's slow-paced, but that's not it. It controls pretty awkwardly, and the concept is in no way noteworthy. And finally, it's a bit boring too. Sorry I had to bore you with those details. 63. Clock stoppers. Each team has their own clock, stop doubting, which they have to move the hands of on specified numbers. Each time you do so, you score 1 point, and the first team to 3 points wins. Just like Bus Buffer, this one's slow-paced. The concept is a little more clever, and it does take more teamwork, so for those reasons, it's better than Bus Buffer, but I still don't really care for it. 62. Womp Maze. Here, the players run through, I'm not really sure. Maybe it's a maze made out of womps? I don't know. The first one to make it out of the maze wins. The problem here is you can't even see the womps. They're invisible, unless you run into them. In that sense, I guess it could be a memory testing game to some extent, but said extent is very minor. Ultimately, I consider this a luck-based minigame. 61. Mazed and Confused. This one's pretty similar to Womp Maze. The players run through an electric maze, right? And the first one to get to the end wins. I put this one above Womp Maze because the maze is longer, and though luck is still a huge part of it, it's not quite as much here, so of course it's gonna be a little better. But again, luck is luck. Although I will say, the concept is kinda cool, I guess. 60. Merry Poppings. Each player's floating in the air with tons of balloons, and using blow dart tubes, they have to pop all their opponent's balloons by mashing. The one who does so first wins. This one's just a masher, that's all. I mean, yeah, I like mashers, but the concept here is just eh. I don't know if I'd say it's boring either, it's just a simple masher. 59. Willflower. Each player has their own flower. No! Which by, using the power of their minds, okay, they have to grow. The player to completely do so first wins. Here we have another masher. Since it lasts a bit longer, it's a smidge better than Merry Poppings, and also the fact that it has 4 players instead of just 2. Yeah, you can tell I'm really reaching here, can't you? 58. Pump and Jump. Each player has their own piston, which by, again, mashing, they have to keep jumping on to build power before launching into the air. The one to fly the furthest wins. This one has a kind of more interesting concept, hence why it's a tad better than the other mashers I've gone over already. And it's certainly not boring. I'd actually say it's kind of fun. This is where the minigames start getting good, but we aren't quite out of the masher woods yet. 57. Manic Mallets. Each player has their own hammer, which by, yes, mashing, they must use to keep hitting a button. The team to get the most hits wins. Yeah, this one is aesthetically and conceptually pretty funny. So yeah, it just scrapes past all the other mashers we've looked at already. Sorry, that's all I can say. Hey, what do you expect? Mashers almost never have much to them. 56. Tug-O-Dory. Each player's on their own giant mechanical dory, playing, well, yes. I mean, it's not tug-of-war, but let's pretend it is. You do so by, well, not mashing, but again, let's pretend you do. The last one standing wins. Now, you might think that I'm not crazy about this concept, cause, you know, tug-of-war, but I can't think of any other time I've seen a free-for-all version of it. So one original? Maybe, but even so, pretty unique. 55. Blown Away. The players are on a cloud, and each have their own wind gun thingamabobber, which they must keep shooting at each other, trying to knock them off. The last one standing wins. Oh, how good it feels to finally be out of the masher cave. This one's quite fun and on toe keeping, and the concept kinda cool. I might like it more if it were a free-for-all instead of a duel, but regardless, pretty good minigame. 54. Peace Out. Each player has their own tile grid, onto which they must drag tiles, trying to completely fill the grid. Each time you do so, you'll score points, and the one with the most when time expires wins. And bonus, the more matching colors you have, the more points you'll get. This one's just a fun puzzle game. And that's it. I'm not sure what else to say. What a puzzling quandary. I hope my puns make up for lack of content. 53. Countdown Pound. Each player has their own balloon, which they must stop from inflating as close as possible to when their timer hits 0. The player who does so closer to 0 wins. This one takes sharp focus and keeps you on your toes. Its concept, okay I guess, but again, I just like how much it requires your attention. That's it, nothing else to it. 52. Twistin' Out. The players inside a tornado, and each with their own hammer, must hit each other, trying to knock them into the tornado to get them out, I think. I'm not 100% on that. Last one standing wins. This one's just fun, but that's not all. It gradually gets harder and harder since the tornado keeps closing in, leaving you with less room, and its concept is pretty epic. 51. Sky Survivor. The players, each with their own shell jet, are flying through a long sky course full of spiky balls, which, of course, they have to dodge. Each time you hit one, you lose stamina, and the first one to lose all their stamina loses. Yes, this one is fun, but are you surprised I have it this low? Well, I have a good reason for that. As you progress further, a ridiculously copious amount of spiky balls start appearing, which makes dodging them all but impossible, so of course that's gonna hold it back. But even so, it is good. I do like it. 50. Ground Pounds Down. This one takes place underground, and the players must keep ground pounding to destroy stone blocks. The first one to reach the end wins. There's not a whole lot to this minigame, it's just fun and nice and simple. And I guess the concept is kind of original, since, you know, ground pounding, classic Mario game mechanic, and it's also cool how some blocks have to be ground pounded multiple times. Oh, forget it. This minigame's good. 49. Squared Away. The players are all blocks. Okay. The lone player being a small fast one, and the team players being big slow ones. You guessed it. The team players must try to crush the lone player. If they can do so in the time limits, they win, but if not, the lone player wins. This minigame is quite fun and on toe keeping for the lone player, with a pretty funny concept. I'll be honest, I think it's a little overrated, but even so, I quite like it. 48. Spill Blasters. Each player's on their own spinning platform with a cannon, which they must use to shoot bullet bills at opponents. If you get shot 3 times, you're out, and last one standing wins. Oh, a shooting game, nice! But even so, with how fast the platforms spin, it's kind of hard to aim and time your shots, so that drags it down just a little. But even with that, it is certainly fun, although you have to wonder, how are they not passing out from dizziness? 47. Rumble Ready. You're just standing around, waiting for your controller to rumble, at which point you have to be the first one to press the button, at which point you'll catch a falling ball, at which point you'll score a point, at which point, if you get 3 points, you win. See my point? This one takes intense focus and a good reaction time, and also, it's nice and simple. Sorry I had to point that out. 46. Shy Guy Showdown. I like to think of this as a more intense version of Shy Guy Says from Mario Party 1 and 2. Shy Guy will hold up a sign, and the first player to press the button on said sign wins. Just like Rumble Ready, this one takes both close focus and a good reaction time. It's definitely not as good as Shy Guy Says, but I do like it a lot, especially since you can't press the wrong button or you'll blow your one chance. 45. Panic Pinball. The name is all you really need to understand this minigame on a basic level. Each team is inside a huge pinball machine and must keep hitting balls. I'll trust that didn't fall upon dirty ears. Into bumpers, Goombas, and Bowser's head. The more you do so, the more points you'll score, and the team with the most points when time is up wins. Concept? Nothing, because it's just regular pinball. But even so, it's surprisingly fun, and considering I'm not a huge pinball fan, that's really saying something. 44. Leaf Leap. Each player has their own beanstalk and must keep jumping upward on its leaves as fast as possible, being careful not to jump in the wrong direction, which will cause them to fall down and lose progress. The player to jump the highest in the time limit wins. This one is quite challenging and requires close attention, which is an epic combination when it comes to Mario Party minigames. It's also just plain fun. 43. Dodge Bomb. This one takes place in a small arena full of bombs, which you have to pick up and throw at opponents. If you get hit by one, you're out, and last player standing wins. This one is mad fun, thrilling, and on toe keeping, but it's not perfect. Its biggest problem is it's really short. It only lasts a few seconds. If, say, players had more than one life, or maybe if the arena were bigger, or even both, I'm positive I'd like it a lot more. But even as it is, it's good. 42. Revolving Fire. The team players are on a platform over lava, and the lone player must try to hit all of them with fire. If they can do so before time expires, they win, but if even one team player can survive the entire time, the team wins. You can probably guess what I think about this one. Super fun for the lone player, super on toe keeping for the team, and super thrilling no matter what side you're on. And this concept is fire. Are those rotten tomatoes? Ugh, fine, fire away. 41. Quilts for Speed. Each side has their own Goomba vehicle jumpy bouncy thingy, which they race across a course of patches. To move, each player has to stop a slot to land on an appropriate arrow, which will cause them to move in that direction. The first side to reach the finish wins. This one takes good timing, and of course I love gacing rains. It can also be a pretty good challenge, since the slots roll pretty fast. 40. Banking Coins. Each team is on their own unstable platform with a floating vase, which one teammate must keep hitting to make coins come out while the other collects them. This coin cache is quite similar to Coin Shower Flower from Mario Party 1, but better in pretty much every way. It's not stupidly unfair, it's fun for everyone, and the concept is much less far-fetched. And most of all, it takes good teamwork. For sure, a coin cache done right. 39. Triple Jump. Players take turns performing 3 long consecutive jumps by button mashing. The player to cover the most distance wins. This is surely one of the better mashers. Why? Because it's just plain fun, nice and simple, and not super short. Also, for some reason, I kind of like the concepts. I can't really explain why, I just do. Some might say I'm overrating this one, and if you feel that way, sorry, but my opinion is my opinion. 38. Popstar Piranhas. There are 5 piranha plants who each round will start having a seizure, dancing. One of which is dancing differently from the others. Your job is to find the odd one out, and each time you do, you'll score a point. The one with the most points after 3 rounds wins. This is kind of like Archaeologus from Mario Party 4 wearing a different outfit. It takes close focus. Relatively speaking, its concept is kind of lame, but with the good things I mentioned, who cares? 37. Curvy curbs. Each player's riding their own cart, and both sides race them on a long, curvy path. You must turn carefully to avoid hitting the boundaries, since if you do so, it'll slow you down. The first side to reach the finish wins. This is a racing game, so obviously I must despise it, right? I mean, why else would it be this high up on the list? And bonus, for the team, it takes good teamwork. Who knew? Because there's more pressure not to mess up, since if even one team player hits a wall, it slows the whole team down. 36. Defuse or lose. Each team must ground pound sparks to stall them from reaching their King Bomb and blowing him up. The first team whose King Bomb explodes loses. This one is quite fun and nerve-wracking, with a clever and interesting concept. It also requires teamwork and communication, but I can't help but wonder, how does anyone walk away from this minigame with no first-degree burns on their asses? I mean, I've heard of lighting a fire under your ass, but this is ridiculous. 35. Sub-marathon. Each team has their own submarine, which they race. So yeah, I'm gonna get this out of the way fast. A part of the reason I like this one is because it's a racing game, no duh. One player operates it while the other catches their breath, and they can switch off whenever they want. First team to the finish line wins. There's really nothing special about this one's concept, but it's nice and fun and simple. No, wait. And also, it's a masher, a good one. 34. Berry basket. There are tons of berries, growing oddly fast, and one teammate must shoot them down with slingshots while the other catches them with their basket. You'll score points for each berry you catch, and the team with the most points when time is up wins. Shooting games, gotta love them. But what if you're the basket player, you may ask? It's really fun and on toe keeping for them too. The concept is just but with how fun it is, who cares about concepts? 33. Beach volleyball, or I guess Beach Volley Deluxe Edition. Needless to say, this one's just regular beach volleyball, so concept, nothing noteworthy, obviously. But even so, it's still quite fun. I will say, the controls can sometimes feel a bit off. It could just be me, but even if it is, it doesn't always feel that way, so it can be fun, even more so than Beach Volley, since now there are different types of balls with different gimmicks. 32. Bound of Music. This one takes place on a cloud, over which tons of invisible music blocks float, and you have to keep hitting them. I mean, it's not like that's super obvious. The one to hit the most in the time limit wins. This one's just plain simple and fun and nice. Oh, damn it. And I have to say, the concept is pretty original, because, you know, Super Mario Bros., jumping, hitting blocks. With all that, I was bound to give this one a good spot. Music to my ears. 31. Big top drop. The lone player's on a trapeze, and the team players are on a tightrope. The lone player's gotta keep dropping balls. 30 ears, that is not for you. Trying to hit all three team players. If they can do so before time expires, they win, but if at least one team player can survive the entire time, the team wins. Like a lot of other 1v3s, this one is, for the team, super on toe keeping, for the lone player, super fun, and no matter which side you're on, super thrilling. And the concept, kind of funny, not gonna lie. 30. Rain of Fire. Bowser will launch several fireballs up in the air, which, hence the name Rain of Fire, will rain down on the players. If you get burned, you lose, and if you can survive to the end, you win. This one really keeps you on your toes. It is, admittedly, kind of short, but with how fun and, again, on toe keeping it is, that's negligible here, and the concept is pretty epic. Don't worry, I'm not gonna make another fire pun. After all, I wouldn't wanna rain on your parade. Hey, I said I wouldn't make another fire pun! 29. Mass Appeal. The players are in a small arena full of bananas and banana peels. While avoiding the peels, you want to get as many bananas as you can. You'll get 1 coin for each one you nab. The gameplay here is surprisingly fun, and not only that, it also keeps you on your toes watching out for peels. And Donkey Kong, you know, just hanging around, watching, eating bananas instead of participating? Why'd you have to leave the roster, DK? Why? 28. Heat Stroke. The team players are atop several platforms, and the lone player with a hammer must knock said platforms away. The team players must jump to avoid getting knocked away with them. If at least one team player is still standing once all the platforms are gone, the team wins. But if the lone player can eliminate them all before set points, they win. This one really keeps the team players on edge, and also, it's mad fun for the lone player. Or, more simply, I don't care what side I'm on. 27. Fish sticks. There are tons of fishing rods, which, when they dip down, you have to reel in. If you get it cheap, you'll score points, and the player with the most points when time is up wins. Again, the gameplay here is quite fun. It also kind of takes a good reaction time and focus. It doesn't have much in the way of concept, but like I always say, good concepts are just gravy. The only time they really mean much is, I would say, Thanksgiving. 26. Rumble Fumble. There are tons of vibrating buckets, okay. And you have to find 3 with fly guys inside. How do you know if they do? It's luck-based. Yeah, I've suddenly come to love luck-based games. I don't know why I ever... Nah, bruh, I'm messing with you. At the beginning, your controller will rumble a certain way, and each time you get near a bucket, your controller will rumble then as well. If said rumble matches the one from the beginning, it means there's a fly guy inside. First one to find 3 wins. This one's not only fun, but also has a clever and unique concept. Way to make good use of the GameCube's rumble feature, Nintendo. 25. Banana Punch. There are tons of barrels, which players must keep punching, hoping to find bananas inside. You'll get 1 coin for each one you nab. The gameplay here is mad fun, because who doesn't love smashing stuff? To me, it kind of makes it like a fighting minigame, and of course, I'm loco for fighting games. Still wishing DK were still in the roster instead of just hanging around in the background, but even so, great minigame. 24. Astrological. There are tons of cards with many different shapes. Each round, the players have to find one that matches the big shape shown at the top. However, there's always one less matching card than there are players, so if you're last to find one, you're out. Last one standing wins. Obviously, this one takes close focus and good sleuthing skills, and its concept is kind of interesting, I guess, with the Zodiac theme. Oh, who am I kidding? It's very interesting. 23. Cajun Cookin'. Each player's in their own cage, which by pushing several specific buttons, they have to unlock and run out of. If you don't do so fast enough, Bowser will come and breathe fire on you, i.e. you lose. But if you do get out in time, you win. I wonder how many times I've already said I like button pushing games. And the concept, I think, is pretty epic. You know you're in for a good time when Bowser hits the scene. Well, most of the time. 22. Divine Climb. Here, well, I think it might be climbing up vines. Actually, probably not. And it's another DK minigame, which I think means you might have to collect bananas to get coins. Actually, that might be wrong too. And there are also spiders, which I think might be dangerous, so why can't I stop being wrong? This minigame is mad fun. Yay, I'm not being wrong anymore! 21. Gladiator. In a way, this one's kind of like Squared Away, but with the roles reversed. The lone player's rolling on a huge ball, and must roll it into all 3 team players. If he or she does so within the time limit, he or she wins. But if even one team player can outlast the timer, the team wins. This one is fun and very thrilling, and if you're on the team, on toe-keeping and nerve-wracking, and reminds me of bumper balls. I think this one's better than Squared Away because I find it more fun, and with a slightly better concept. 20. Shock Absorbers. This one takes place in an arena full of amps, which, duh, you have to avoid, but it's easier said than done. I mean, just look how many there are, and on top of that, they can also shoot electricity between each other. Because of that, this one is mad on toe-keeping, and the concept is epic, no shocker. You keep your tomatoes, metaphorical or otherwise, to yourself. And side note, I know I always say that minigames tends to be more fun with more players, but this one's an exception. I'm actually glad it's a duel. I feel like if it were a free-for-all, that would just make it more cluttered. 19. Mario Can Can. Each team has their own can, which by grounds pounding on a can opener, they have to open. The first team to get the lid off their can wins. This minigame can be seen as an alternate, and in my opinion, better, version of the Great Deflate from Mario Party 4. You have to grounds pound with good timing. However, instead of doing so simultaneously, you have to alternate in good sync. If you ask me, that makes this one more fun than the Great Deflate, and on top of that, I find this one's concept much more clever. 18. ID UFO. Each team has their own floor with 9 panels, each with a different type of UFO. 2 real UFOs will appear, and you and your partner have to ground pound the panels that match them. Each time you do so, you'll get a point, and the first team to 5 points wins. This one is really fun, takes good focus, and has a clever, interesting concept. And naturally, being a 2v2, it takes good teamwork. ID UFO A+. 17. Beam Team. Each team player has their own UFO, which they must use to abduct the lone player. If the lone player can survive until the timer expires, he or she wins. But if he or she gets abducted before time expires, the team wins. This one is fun and has a clever concept, and if you're on the team, requires teamwork. Furthermore, it's really on toe-keeping for the lone player, and for the team, mad fun. And I really like the funny concept. 16. Coin Cash. Let's get the out of the way. This is a coin cache.
Is that so?
Now, just take a second to observe what are the players doing. The thing that's basically in Mario's blood. Jumping, hitting blocks, and getting coins. So try and guess how I feel about the concept. Yep, very original. And not only that, it's also just nice and simple. And let's not forget, very fun. Simple, yet amazing for several reasons. That's one way how you know a minigame is awesome. 15. Hydro Stars. Each player has their own motorboat and must ride it into 5 checkpoints in the right order before heading for the finish line. The first player to complete these tasks wins. This one is just really fun, and it's also a racing minigame. Which, you know how I feel about those things, don't ya? No? Me neither. No special concept here, but given how fun it is, I don't care! 14. Chomp Romp. Each player has their own chain chomp, which, with a chomp call, they have to guide around a park avoiding obstacles, making their way to the end. The first one to lure their chain chomp all the way to the finish wins. This one is both fun and thrilling. Very fun and thrilling. Also, the concept is kind of cute and funny, and best of all, original. And one more thing, it's also on toe-keeping since you don't want to let your chain chomp hit you. Unless you want to see what the top of an airplane looks like. 13. Coney Island. Each player has their own ice cream cone, which they must use to catch scoops of ice cream that'll fall from the sky. The one to catch the most scoops before time is up wins. Everybody loves this one. It's one of Mario Party 5's most iconic minigames. Why, you may ask? Because it's fun, and has a cute, interesting concept, and is nice and simple, and, never gets old. What else can I say? This minigame is sweet. Sweet pun, huh? 12. Flower Shower. This one's kind of like Coney Island, but faster paced. 2 newlywed Koopas will throw a bouquet of flowers in the air, which will start raining down, and of course you want to collect them. Doing so scores your points, and the player with the most points when time expires wins. Just like Coney Island, this one is very fun. Its concept is nowhere near as clever or innovative, but again, its pacing is faster, which makes it just that tiny bit better than Coney Island. 11. Chimp Chase. The players are in a jungle, I think, with tons of ukikis of various colors. You have to run around, chase and grab them, then bring them to the big ukiki with the same color. You'll score points for each one you return, and the player with the most points when time is up wins. This one is really fun, frantic, and hectic, and therefore fast-paced, which I love. And the concept is interesting and kind of funny. That's all I got. I can't say anything else. Say it with me. Some minigames are just good for a few simple reasons. 10. Dinger Derby. Each player has their own baseball pitching robot. What comes next? I think maybe they'll keep throwing baseballs, and you have to try to hit them, as many as you can with a baseball bat. And how about after that? The player to hit the most baseballs out of 30 wins? And whether that's how it is or not, this one is nice and simple, and at the same time, surprisingly, really fun. Again, no special concept, but with how great it is otherwise, who cares? 9. Ice Hockey. You're never gonna believe this. In this minigame, you play, wait for it, ice hockey! Big surprise, huh? And guess what else? You and your teammate have to score points by hitting a puck into a goal with L-shaped sticks. Who could have guessed? And I've got even more amazing news. The team with the most points when time is up wins. This one, despite the blah concept, is mad fun and more. I should be a newscaster. 8. Hotel Goomba. Each player's in their own Goomba-ridden hotel. They have to get to the top floor by punching Goombas out of their way. The first one to reach the top wins. This one is really fun and has a very clever, unique, innovative concept. I mean, I can't think of any other nice, quick puzzle minigames like this. I mean, completing a puzzle by knocking Goombas around? That just makes it even more original. What more do I have to say? All around, Hotel Goomba is a brilliant minigame. 7. Tube it or lose it. All 4 players are snow tubing down a large snowy slope, but the lone player's got a large spiked tube and must use it to pop all the team players' tubes. Doing so means he or she wins, but if even one team player reaches the end of the path, the team wins. Although a bit lacking in concept, this one is really fun, especially for the lone player and, for the team, nerve-wracking. It kinda reminds me of Hop or Pop from Mario Party 4, but quite better. 6. Frightmare, aka the final boss battle. You have to make your way through many different trials. Stomping Mecha Koopas, dodging Johnny Cash's magnum opus, fighting Bowser Mario 3 style before Bowser grows huge, and you have to throw magic orbs at him while dodging his fire, rocks, and shockwaves. Hit Bowser 5 times and you win, but lose all your health before that and you lose. Talk about an amazing final boss. Extremely fun, exhilarating, challenging, and on toe-keeping. Frightmare, more like dream come true? Forget I said anything. 5. Pushy Penguins, or Mario Party 5's most iconic minigame. The players are on a glacier, which a ton of penguins will run across. The players must run against them to keep from being pushed in the water. If you do fall in the water, you lose, but any player to outlast the timer wins. This one is really fun, with a pretty clever and funny concept, and it can even be quite challenging at times. I mean, why else would it be Mario Party 5's most popular minigame? I mean, in addition to all that stuff, it's also exhilarating, on toe-keeping, and thrilling. Extremely so. If you're upset it's not number 1, sorry. 4. Mario mechs. Each player has their own mech, the lone player with the big slow one, and the team players with small fast ones. Using these, they have to keep shooting at opponents. If you get hit, you'll lose health, and the first side to get rid of all the other side's health wins. Let's get the obvious out of the way, the concept. Frankly, it sucks. I mean, a 1v3 mech battle? What the hell? That's not epic or unique at all. And the lone player's mech has more attacks so the team can't steamroll them? How is that fair? God, this minigame's awful. Wait, today's not opposite day? What I just said, the opposite, that's what I meant. 3. Later Skater. The players compete in, basically, short track speed skating. Specifically, they're ice skating on an ovular track, and the first to complete 5 laps is the winner. There may only be 2 turns, but they're pretty sharp, so players must make them slowly and carefully, since if they do so too quickly or abruptly, they could hit the median, the wall, or another player, which will cost them speed. This minigame is just fun. Mad fun, in fact, without that much thrill or that good of a concept. However, bonus, it reminds me of Mario Kart with the controls, and Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games for obvious reasons. And even bigger bonus, it's a racing game, which Mikoro love. 2. Frozen Frenzy. This one takes place in an icy cave, and there are 5 ice crystals. Of course, you want to get as many of them as you can, but it's nowhere near that simple. The players can attack each other, and if you get hit, you'll drop a crystal. The one with the most crystals in hand when time expires wins. So what do I think about fighting games? Yeah, you know I love those things. I also love how different parts of the cave have various levels of elevation. That both keeps it from being boring and makes it a unique type of fighting game. And needless to say, it's very exhilarating and on toe-keeping. Frozen Frenzy is mad cool. Why do I even bother? 1. Fish Upon a Star. This one takes place on a star-shaped platform, and the players are fighting each other. Fighting game, already got that out of the way, but it does not stop there, oh no. Cheap will keep flying in, from God knows where, and destroying the platform piece by piece, leaving players with less room. Obviously, you want to knock other players off, and if you're the last one standing, or still standing when time expires, you win. What else do I have to say? With the other players, cheaps, and collapsing platforming, this minigame keeps you on your toes like no other, and on top of that, it's insanely fun and thrilling, and the concept is, I'd say, epic. epic as can be. With all this awesomeness, Fish Upon a Star is easily my #1 favorite Mario Party 5 minigame. If you disagree, I fish upon a star that you change your mind. Yeah, I'll bet you've heard funnier jokes from a fish. So there you have it, my ranking of every Mario Party 5 minigame. For more videos like this, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also, please check out my social media. All links are in the description. A quintuple thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Mikoro out.